Hey internet, how's it going? Sorry, trying out some lights here because it's getting a little dark. I just wanted to introduce you to the car that we're going to be working on intermittently on this channel. It's not going to be exclusively car restoration, but this over here is my kind of free 1974 Volkswagen Beetle. And I say kind of free because I traded a moped for it, that's all. But we'll first take a quick walk around the car. I got it not running, but you know, on visual inspection, everything seemed decent. You know, there's some Bondo on here. The battery tray was rusted out. The engine was spinning. That was a big plus. You can see I've already harvested doors off of another Beetle to put on here, but one of the cool things I found out is that was the original color, so I might return it to its glory of that baby boy blue, you might call it, at some point or another. But let me give you a quick tour of the car. So here's a quick tour of the free or nearly free Beetle, and a lot of the context I'm giving you is with respect to, you know, doing things on a classic car like this slowly, because it's very easy to overspend your budget, and with respect to that, overspend the value of the car, right? This is a 1974 Beetle. If it was in factory mint condition, someone might be willing to pay maybe 10 or 15,000, but honestly, it's the Beetles that are older, like the 60s years, that are more collectible. So, you know, this car with me at the wheel, as far as restoration goes, will probably never be worth much more than 5 to 10,000, even in really good condition, you know, with disc brake upgrades and stuff. So it's easy to spend too much money and suddenly you're in over your head, like upside down. And that happens to a lot of people who strip these things down the minute they get them and start with a full frame up restoration. So what I did was step by step, you know, determine how well it worked and whether it was worth putting more money into. Each step of the way told me more and more things. So first example was, did the engine rotate? And I solved that problem right during the inspection, right? I was able to spin the motor, which answered a lot of questions. So from there, you know, do we have compression? Do we have spark? Do we have fuel flow? And you go step by step. There's the oil pressure gauge down there, right? Do we have, down in here, do we have oil pressure? And how's the electrical system, right? Step by step before you start just stripping this thing down. And now I have a really good sense of what it needed and what it didn't. I mean, there are a lot of things I found out along the way, like the rear main seal. But that was honestly a very cheap fix, right? It was labor, which I'm doing this because I like it. But the parts, the repair parts, were minimal. It was a $4 or $5 part. So that's the type of thing you need to keep in mind as you're working through this. So my next step on this is really mostly aesthetics. Like here's an example of some of the rust on this. We've got the death rot. They injected foam into here for noise suppression, I think, primarily, maybe some fireproofing too, or safety. I'm not entirely sure, but moisture, when it got in there, pretty much guaranteed these things would fail. So part of what we're going to be doing on this channel is fixing that. There's a lot of little spot rusts throughout too. My first actual rust repair projects are going to be the fenders, where we're going to strip them down, do any patching that we need to with a welder, and then paint them. But this is going to be a big one, and I'll show you. We have some options here, right? You can see the rust goes all the way back through here, and probably Bondo too. The roof is decent, but I have a secret weapon for this. Note the color of the doors, right? Blue. So this is actually the roof from a 1974 Super Beetle, same exact year, but from the door back, these cars are identical, whether it's a Super or a Standard. So I could technically graft the entire roof onto that car if needed. I mean, this one is in really good shape. The rest of the car was absolute trash. Look at the condition of this. And steel, when you do a patch, is never going to be as strong as the original. So getting this is almost priceless for a car like that. It also, you know, this is going to be a much better manufacturing than if I tried to make a part or shape a part myself. There's a lot of nuance here. Like there's a curve, but there's also this ridge. You know, I'm not going to be good at doing that. So an important thing to mention too with a classic car like this is, what are your goals for it? What's your objective, right? I'm not going to be bringing this to a car show and getting trophies with it. My hope is to make it basically into a daily driver, because it's fun and it's kind of goofy and I don't have a long commute, right? If I had an hour-long commute on a highway, this probably wouldn't be appropriate, but I only travel a couple miles a day on town roads, so it's a perfect car for that. Like, here's an example of some work I already did bodywork wise, right? I scraped that down with a wire wheel, spray painted it silver. It's gonna look pretty good with the hubcaps on it. So there's a original hubcap back there, right? From 10 or 15 feet, that's gonna look pretty darn good. But when you get up close, it's certainly not gonna look brand new. We have a simultaneous shop organization project going on here too, hence all the stuff piled up. Stay tuned for that video series. Again, it's easy to spend a lot of money organizing a shop, so I'm trying to do it on the cheap. I'm gonna have the original spare tire. Looks pretty good. Got my mousetrap set for the winter. I verified the engine would start. I put a little bit of fuel in the tank and then saw it pouring out the bottom. Of course, the original cloth fuel line had rotted away. The biggest thing I've found funny with Volkswagens is that is some nasty wiring. And one project I'd like to do is kind of reorganize that wiring. I don't know how much of that is just factory and how much of it is someone just fixing things, but it is nasty and it's very hard to troubleshoot. There was a period of time where this thing would have like an ignition problem and I'd just wiggle wires and then eventually it would start. That's not a great high reliability thing. I'm going to provide links to all the things I did and the videos I watched, thanks to all the other YouTubers who made those videos. Here's another example of some rust repair we'll have to do, right? Not major, but I'm not a very good welder. I just picked up my welder, so I'm going to be learning on this car. Maybe someday I'll get a more valuable car and do a better job restoring it, but this is a good one to learn on. That's where we're at with this car. There's going to be a lot of videos coming up. Thanks for watching. Click like or subscribe if you like this content or can tolerate it enough to put it on your liked videos. And yeah, hope to see you again back here soon. Thanks.